Hey guys, welcome to the farm. Now, you can see it in our neighbors' crops. You can actually feel in the air that fall is almost here. This is our first season having a greenhouse on our property, but it is a tool that I think that all small farms that's similar to ours should have on their farm. The greenhouse gives you the ability to some extent minimize the climate effects. It also gives you the ability to extend your crop season, and as well as it gives you the ability to minimize pest pressure. Now, before we get into the greenhouse, let me take you over to our plot 2, bed 1, which is our okra bed, to show you the difference in growing in a greenhouse versus growing outside a greenhouse. So we're in plot 2. Our first bed was actually our okra bed. We planted this okra at the end of May, which is right after our frost. And right away, once it heated up, the Japanese beetles and as well as the locusts and grasshoppers started attacking our plants, which led us to actually pull those plants out. And we had some good plants in there that we thought we can intermingle with some collard greens to hide them, but they found those, and as you can see, they have really decimated this okra and as well as stunted the growth and production of fruit that we really didn't get a harvest off these plants. But I'm gonna take you guys over to the greenhouse and show you a major difference here. So our greenhouse is a 12 by 30 greenhouse. We actually purchased this greenhouse on Craigslist from a private owner, new in the box, at a steep discount. Now, we had some challenges when installing this greenhouse. The first challenge is, I don't know if you guys can tell, but it is installed on a vertical slope, roughly a 2-foot slope. So that led to some issues, and we reached out to the manufacturer of this product to get some ideas on how we can install this on the slope, but also to see if they had what's called a greenhouse extension package. Surprisingly, we got a response that we were not looking for, and that response was, we don't make an extension package, and if you modify our greenhouse, guess what? Your warranty is voided. When you're purchasing a product or you getting a product from a manufacturer, you will hope they will give you some kind of guidance on how to do things like installing a slope. Let's step inside the greenhouse real quick. So let's talk about the modifications first, and then I'll show you guys and talk about the okra. Now, you may not be able to tell, but back here, there's roughly a 2-foot difference. And we had one option on the plate, and that was actually put in 2-foot concrete pillars to raise the greenhouse up at a level point. Well, that wasn't going to work for us. So while I was at the hardware store getting some T-posts, I came up with the idea of getting some fence railing and tying that fence railing into the existing pylons of the greenhouse to raise it up the 2 feet that we needed. And that ended up working out perfectly, but it posed another problem. The greenhouse plastic, which also consists of an apron that you usually bury on the ground, was barely touching the ground. So what I did from there was I put in a baseboard, put in a C-channel, and as well as put in some wiggle wire and tied that greenhouse plastic into that, and that seemed to work well, but the pest was still able to get in. I reached out to the manufacturer once again to see if they had a shade cloth solution that will help us cool off our greenhouse. The response I got was similar to the last one. They didn't have a solution for us. So fortunately, we was able to go onto Amazon and find a shade cloth that worked perfectly for our greenhouse, but it was a little bit longer than what we wanted. But it worked perfect. We got the shade cloth in, but we needed some airflow inside the greenhouse. To modify that, I cut the greenhouse plastic and we put in some residential screening, and that added airflow into the greenhouse, and everything seems to work perfect, but it's not 100% pest proof because we do still get the occasional bird and as well as grasshopper inside the greenhouse. You can see a drastic difference in the okra inside our greenhouse versus the okra outside. Now, as I mentioned, we occasionally get the birds and as well as the occasional grasshopper in here. So there is still some pest pressure, and we got to figure out what we're going to do to fix that. But this okra is a lot taller. We get a lot more fruit, and it looks a lot healthier than the okra that we had outside. So okra is a plant that I would never grow outside again. I will always keep this inside a greenhouse because I love my okra. Some additional modifications I'm looking to make to this greenhouse, being that we do live in Iowa, we have snow in as well as high wind. So I do want to add a bracing system with a V-brace to help support this structure, but also I want to rip out the concrete and then add underground watering system so we can do drip irrigation in here. And that's something that we're not going to do right away, but I think that'll be a great addition to this greenhouse. Now, as mentioned before, we still have the pest pressure coming in. I'm not for certain how I'm going to fix that, so if you guys have any suggestions, please drop some comments below. We'll definitely appreciate them, take those in consideration. Greenhouse is something new to us. All in all, though, I do recommend getting a greenhouse on your farm. Now, we actually have already invested in our second greenhouse, and with the success of this greenhouse, our goal is that eventually is to go 100% all greenhouses. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If so, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Please make sure you subscribe as well. Tell a million friends or two, and we'll catch you on the next one.